Hey guys, something different tonight. A movie review. And I hardly ever do these. But I figure why not start with a most recent release on Blu-ray, Logan. Now you guys probably know all about this film. You probably watched it. You probably have your own opinions. But tonight I'm going to give you my opinion on it. This is the last entry in the X-Men series that stars Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, aka Logan. Now, I've been a fan of X-Men since I was a kid. I used to watch the Fox cartoon show every Saturday morning when it came on. And of course, Wolverine was always my favorite. You know, he had the claws and everything. And his attitude was hilarious. He always had just a fuck you type way about him. And I think we could all kind of, relate to him in some way, shape, or form. You know, he was a beer swilling, smart ass guy. Kind of like Stone Cold Steve Austin from WWE. But when the live action film started back in 2000, that's right, 17 years ago. That's a long time to play a certain character. And it doesn't seem that long when you think about it. But when you look at this movie and the original one, you see how much Hugh Jackman has aged, how much he's changed as an actor, and just everything, and how the world's changed. I mean, things are totally different than they were back then. So let's just get right into it. The film starts out, and they make it obvious that it's an R-rated movie. Every sentence is an excuse to say the F word. It seems kind of surreal that Professor Xavier is saying fuck to Logan like all the time in the film. And if I'm not mistaken, the very first word you hear Logan say is fuck, because he's in his car, or his limousine, because he's a limo driver. And I guess he's in Mexico or something, and these gangbangers are trying to steal his rims or some kind of crap, and he wakes up and he's drunk. And I don't know, it seems like the first half of the movie is just an excuse to go over the top with the swearing, which I don't have a problem with. You know, I watch plenty of movies that swear a lot, like From Dusk Till Dawn, Pulp Fiction, and, Desperado, etc., and so on, but it makes sense when they curse. In this film, it just seems like they're just using it as an excuse to use the R rating. But anyway, the story is, it's now, I think, 2029, and Logan is really old. He was pretty old in the first one, according to the plot. They said he could have been older than Professor Xavier at the time. Now, one thing you're kind of wondering throughout the entire film is, why is Logan's body deteriorating? Why is he having trouble healing? Why is his claws getting stuck when they come out? And why is he why is he the way he is now? And you don't really find out until the end. And even then, it's kind of unclear of what he's talking about. But from what I can gather, the adamantium metal in his body is poisoning him, because it's been in his body for so long, and it doesn't make any sense. I don't know if they used this angle in the comic book or not, but I had trouble, okay, this is what's happening. I had trouble accepting that, because he's had the metal in him so long. Why now? I guess. Why is it just now starting to bother him? It doesn't really make any sense to me. I guess it's just an excuse to finally end the movie series, the Wolverine series with Hugh Jackman, and probably start a reboot. But anyway, the metal in Logan's body is starting to break down his body, and it's poisoning him, making his healing not work. I don't really get it. Because if he has a healing power, wouldn't it heal? I mean, I don't know. But so the whole gist of it is now Professor Xavier is really, really old, and he's having these seizures and these episodes. So when he has these seizures, his brain power attacks everybody around him, and Logan's got him in this shielded building, to kind of protect mankind. And you're wondering where all the other X-Men are, and it explains it later on that Professor Xavier had an episode and basically killed everybody. It doesn't make any sense to me. As far as the action in the movie goes, it's really, really good. I like the fight sequences. I would have preferred a different villain for, you know, Logan's final battle other than a clone of himself. I mean, like, you know, Sabretooth, Magneto, somebody we recognize, but no, they just clone him and he has to fight himself. And what's really interesting is the way the clone looks. It looks like Sabretooth from the X-Men Origins film, and I guess it's supposed to be Sabretooth. The timeline kind of got all messed up because the Sabretooth from the first movie, and it just, I don't know, I kind of got lost. And that was one of the problems I had with the X-Men show in general. There's so many timelines and so many things going on that you have a hard time keeping track of it. So who's to say that the next X-Men movie, this whole thing never took place? But I digress. But the basic plot of the film is, like I said, he's bodyguarding Professor Xavier, and this other guy who is an albino. He can't stand the sun, and I think he's psychic. He can see the future or something. But then he soon learns that he's not alone as far as his power and his claws and everything. My nose really itches. Pardon me. So he learns that basically his DNA has been used to make a daughter, and they gave her claws, healing powers, and even like little talons on her feet, which you only see her use them once. You never see him use them again. And she's really badass. She kind of reminds me of Eleven from Stranger Things, and in the same way that she doesn't really talk a whole lot. She kind of does the same facial expressions. She's really, really badass, and then eventually you start to warm up to her, and she starts talking, and and then you kind of realize that, hey, she does have a heart. She is human, and she really does care about Logan. Now, one thing I found interesting in the movie is they reference the comics. Like, the movie is almost self-aware. They use, I'm not a big comic expert, but they use one of the issues to actually reach a destination. And if you haven't seen the film, I don't want to spoil too much. But, I don't know. The first half of the film I didn't really care for. I thought the last part was really good. So it's kind of a 50-50 deal. I think Hugh Jackman did great in his last performance, and I don't know who they could ever get to replace him. He was the perfect Wolverine. He had the body structure, he had the hairstyle. Of course, it took a lot of mousse and hairspray to get that spike look. And even one little throwback to the original films is there's one scene where he's passed out, and the kids that he saved or he's helping, they kind of shave his beard like the old Wolverine. He wakes up and he's like, that's not funny. And it's kind of a little bit of a comic relief in an otherwise serious film. I don't think it's as good as the original ones were. It's just, I think that the time is past for his character. I think they've done as much as they can with it. And I think that's how a lot of films are. I mean, you have one person playing a character, like, how much more can they do? Like, what more can they do for this character? And I think it was high time that Hugh Jackman hung up the claws and found other avenues. Now, I do love X-Men. I will always watch the movies. I haven't been impressed with the last few films, especially the one where they fight Apocalypse. I didn't really care for that one. How they explained his power and everything, I didn't really agree with it. Because like I said, I'm a fan of the Fox show, and Apocalypse he looked similar, but he was different. His powers weren't like that in the show. But anyway, I think it was a great swan song for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine character. Could have been better, but no film is perfect. So check it out, guys. Let me know what you guys think about my new video editing here I got going. Got any comments, concerns, questions, anything like that, put them in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer them. And that's all I got. You guys check out the film. It's pretty good. You guys have a great one. Peace and say my name, and we will see you next time.
We got ourselves an X-Men fan. Maybe a quarter of it happened, and not like this. In the real world, people die.
Logan,
I don't want to talk about it.
Logan,
Just stop.
be careful. I need the girl.
What girl?